before Ondra joins us, let me introduce myself and why I'm standing actually here and why I'm at least half qualified to talk to these gorgeous people. My name is Ivana Šedivá and I was working for almost 30 years on the C-suite level in large corporations. Still not good enough, right? I also studied technical cybernetics and artificial intelligence at the times when it was not cool yet, but we were developing at that time, at the end of the last century, some neural networks to help decision-making of the medical experts. And quite recently, I'm actually helping Čekytas, which is a non-profit in Czech Republic, which helps enhance IT sector and digitalization as well, actually, through educating women to AI. And I have a great privilege to welcome the set of great people here. And I will start talking and introducing them and already discussing, right? So, how are you guys today? You don't need to answer. We don't have much time. I would like to start with Alex. Alex is the CEO of Softec in Czech Republic, but in his rich history, professional history, are companies like PwC and others. And you actually have served in very interesting roles, leading transformations. And already, even today, you are actually helping a lot of companies. By the way, just yesterday, I have seen a research which suggested that people, even the expert, do not share the same definition of digitalization. I wanted to ask you, what is the digitalization in your mind, and where are we with that in Czech Republic?
Hopefully you can hear me. As you already said, I worked in consulting for almost 20 years, and now I am trying to become closer to technologies and basically to digitalization as well. And digitalization, in my mind, as I see it, is not just one thing or something that we can achieve and then it's done. Digitalization is a journey that we basically take in that given industry we are working on, in that given country that we are working on or in, and especially my responsibility in Softec is to build up the Czech Republic, Softec Czech Republic, and here I see a strong difference between digitalization in some sectors, such as public sector, health, and where, according to the researchers, the degree of digitalization is quite low. And on the other hand, for example, in banking, as far as instant payments, as far as card transactions, adapting innovative technologies in our everyday life, like digital onboarding within few seconds, then we are ahead. So I assume, and my goal is to find solutions and offers that can be marketed in the Czech Republic to help other sectors. And our team of almost 400 people in Softec are trying to reuse technological solutions from banking, from insurance markets, to help other industries that are not as digital as they should be according to benchmarks in Europe.
Well, thank you so much. Now let's jump to the real life, okay? Pavle. You are actually dealing with something much more tangible than our data somewhere in the cloud. Can you tell us a little bit how the digitalization actually in your mind can be applied in the fields or lands where we would not expect it even?
Yeah, that is true. We're in our company, we're working with agricultural land, and in the first, we didn't think about digitalization, tokenization, but it was a matter of time when we find out that that is the only way how we can succeed.
And can you just define the field of your organization? This is what I didn't say.
Well, it's quite hard to explain now, but we are dealing with agricultural land. We are buying, selling, we are supporting farmers who does the agricultural logically, sustainably, differently than the most of the farmers. And we are raising money to use the money to support them and to buy new lands. We're working in South Moravia and Hana, the Central Moravia, where there is most productive soil. And we had to find out how to make the business sustainable. And the only way was the tokenization of, we call it tokenization of agriculture in Czech Republic, but it's only the work name, because we have our token, which is right now, which has been trading on 8 global exchanges, the biggest exchanges globally, and there is the interest, we're grabbing interest from traders all around the world because the token has its real value, it's backed up by agricultural land, and there is no token globally who does this kind of business. So, but the implementation of the digitalization of agricultural land was not easy thing, mainly to explain the farmers that that is the only way, because if we're telling farmers we are digitalizing your land, then they are telling us like...
They were a little bit confused, huh?
Yeah, they're very confused. But it's only the... it's only... how do you call it? Nástroj? It's only a tool how to raise money to support them. So we are helping them, you know, but you have to explain that.
Yeah, it's not always easy, right? We'll be talking about it, by the way, a little bit later as well. Now, can you guess who is representing the arts, media and film industry in this panel? Ondro. How about arts and digitalization?
Not only arts, but also the entertainment and media and leisure in the grand view. And right now the digitalization in this sector is driven by consumer hunger, and that the early adopters and most of the consumers are shifting in a way how they want to get to things, they know what to get. So most of the digitalization right now is about the content, the distribution, the protection, and right back in adequate compensation for the content holders for the rights, for the copyright. And honestly, you can see it on every step, because part of it are the handheld phones we are using now, not only for talking. It changes the way even how we communicate, meaning for my generation, when you want to do a gesture that I will call you, you do this, and right now they are doing this. So it even changes our behavior on the most basic ways, and this is digitalization for me. So it's inevitable, but you have to face it every day.
I remember that you are actually one of the co-founders of Artini, where you try to bring the digitalizations to the creators, the film artists. Wasn't it a little bit like trying to convince the farmers, maybe?
No, it was harder.
I don't think so.
Okay, the movie business is 120-something years old, and only thing that changed in there is that they don't distribute the films on the reels, physical reels, but on the hard drives. And even right now, we are in the time where the hard drives are distributed physically. So one owner of the small cinema is driving the hard drive to another village. Then there it's copied into the media server, and it goes again somewhere. So we started more than 7 years ago by the idea that we can streamline this way, and we are getting there now. We are already considered good at it, but we still have to tell the big players that there is cheaper, faster, and more efficient way to do things. And so we are the solution for a non-seen problem, which is
But I don't want it because it's change, right?
Yes, and
we will talk about it a little bit later because this is very important for digitalization. Now, Linn, I'm coming to you as the best at the end, so if you can pass the mic to Tomáš. And who have been here a few minutes ago, Tomáš had a wonderful presentation. I totally loved it. So you might be repeating yourself, but actually it doesn't matter. Yeah? Tomáš is actually, in my mind, one of the most successful Czechs because he was able to successfully exit his startup to IBM, which he didn't say before. And now he's actually consulting the region in IBM, actually, which is a huge success. And what you were saying, actually, about data was really resonating with me a lot. And one of the things which I would like to ask you to start up is, how about from your perspective? You lived in different countries, you spent a lot of time in US. Alex was talking a little bit about the differences already, but how it is from your perspective. Are we at the tail? Are we really behind? Or is it okay? Or
yeah, I mean,
where is it?
As a citizen and user of different services in a specific place, I did the opportunity to live in multiple different places in Europe and US. And I really like being in Czech Republic from that perspective. I believe that we actually do quite great. And I think that the beauty of Czech Republic, at least my personal experience, is that we can combine pretty advanced digital services in specific areas, maybe not the government, but in most others, and we can combine it with what I call like human approach. So one example, the hardest thing for me almost anywhere, but specifically in the United States, was to actually like buy something that's not a simple package delivered to my front porch. Like being there for the person, waiting for them, or if it was like a bigger item, making sure my elevator is booked and they can actually deliver the thing to my apartment. All of that stuff was like so hard to coordinate. Just how we have all these like Alza boxes and other things, or how I can call the courier actually driving to my house in the morning and tell her or him, hey, I will be there 11 a.m. or something, can you make it? Just none of that was possible. So to combine the fact that I have the application, I can schedule everything, and I can do all of that like from my laptop or phone, and at the same time I can actually have like a human conversation with someone and just adjust as needed. That's what at least makes my experience in Czech Republic really exceptional. Maybe aside from the government.
You actually remind me, I was in Paris last week mentoring with Google for startups, a lot of startups. And I remember my frustration when I arrived to Orly and I wanted to use the metro going to the center. And they had a QR code, but actually in order to be able to use the application, you needed to buy bloody paper pass. And you had to queue like half an hour to the machine where you bought the pass.
Definitely not the best user experience.
And then I felt actually better about Czech Republic.
I actually was very happy about being able to pay in the tram today because there was no, ticket counter outside, and I was very happy that this is possible here.
And actually, all of us, we should travel to Brno or Ostrava because there it's even better. You jump on the tram or bus and you use your phone, you register yourself. When you are exiting, you register yourself. Headacheless, totally. And thank you for jumping in. I would like to introduce Linn, who is coming from CERN. And when I was thinking about how to introduce you, I thought like, this is so many talents in one person and so many experience in one person that I would call it, in my boomer generation, probably like Renaissance person, but Gen Z would actually call you multipotential, I guess.
It could be.
Because Linn started in research. She's a lecturer at the university in Vienna, I guess, and she combines the tech approach with entrepreneurial approach as well, right? And she's actually a leader of CERN Venture Contact, right?
Venture Connect, exactly.
Connect, sorry, yes. And I was just wondering, you know, how we can actually, as people from the business or startups, how we can actually benefit from the knowledge which is generated, for instance, in CERN. Is it even possible?
Yeah, so this is actually something that we're struggling a lot with, because people don't know that we have a lot of technologies at CERN that we are developing ourselves in various domains, and we actually collaborate with industry. Typically with bigger partners like Airbus or Microsoft, all these kinds of bigger partners, particularly in the AI and machine learning domain. And people don't know. You know, we do particle physics. It's like super far away and far removed from what we do on a daily basis, and it's actually not true. And we have a dedicated technology transfer group at CERN that works really on 5 key domains. That is digital, it's quantum, it's environment, aerospace, and healthcare or health tech, because of our, technologies within that domain. And why this might work well with corporates in general, we see that it's difficult to work with startups if we just do our normal tech transfer because of the cultural differences that I just mentioned in my presentation. The startups are super fast-paced, and CERN is such a big, blown-up, don't tell them that I said that, but like huge organization that is also quite hierarchical and rigid. And how do you work with a startup like this? It's really, really difficult. So we really try to make a program that removes itself from kind of the typical way of how CERN people work, to make it a bit easier for startups to work with and have technologies already ready and not having to develop them in order to bring them to industry.
Thank you. I always remember, especially when I'm mentoring the founders around the world, what one of them said. And he said, well, technology is not buggy. People are buggy. And we all know that digitalization is something which we cannot avoid. It's very necessary. Maybe we don't have the same definition depending on where our organization is, like comparing it to using the fax machine or email type of comparison, then our view of those things will be different, because somebody is much higher up solving a different level of problems. But one is in common, actually, and it's the human element. We need to digitalize through people. The technology will not do it for ourselves, right? And it's something about communication and about ability to talk to our other people and ability to implement the change. Is this something what you are encountering when you are trying to help your organization or startups or whoever?
I have the mic, so I can start.
Good for you.
I have like 20 minutes left, so no. I think there are like better people here to answer that. Like from my very narrow perspective, I saw again and again that most projects I was part of failed or partially failed simply because people were not willing to find like a middle ground and just even try to agree on basic principles. And in my world, even like simple things, like what's the definition of a customer? Or what's even simple stuff, like what's the definition of a bill or invoice? That creates, in larger organizations, so many unexpected people, communication problems. Just I always wonder how we survive as a society as we even like move forward, because we move forward. So in my experience, definitely number one thing preventing us from moving faster is how we talk to each other. If we are even like willing to find the middle ground, and how everyone can see this, like the same term, the same thing, we see it like very differently.
How is it linked actually to the organizational culture, or where the organization is? It sounds like it might be linked, right, Alex? You seem
it's organizational culture and basically finding a middle ground. I keep telling everyone that basically in order to adapt something new, you have to tackle three things. It's always three things, like.
It's good to remember three things.
The first one is basically all the environment, either it is regulatory, the legal environment, the compliance environment, whatever basically is blocking adoption of new technologies, new innovative ideas. You have to make sure that the people that are actually creating new laws, so basically again we are close to the governmental buildings. So basically this is something that we have to go through, and we keep telling all the compliance and regulatory and legal guys when our innovative solutions are being implemented regarding face biometrics, regarding qualified electronic signatures, its usage according to EU regulations. Every single bank, insurance company, telco company has they are regulated by the same regulatory authorities, but every single compliance officer has a different idea what is legal and what is not legal, what can fly and what cannot fly. So basically this is one thing that basically somehow blocks the adoption of new technologies and innovative ideas. And that's part of the culture, and it's part of finding the middle ground, because again, we have to always find it. Then the second part is, of course, it will happen during several years. We'll become more digital, but we have to enhance it and increase the adoption rate of new ideas and technologies. And that can be done through seamless user experience. If something is easy and there are no bugs, and it is really very easy to use it in few seconds, and again, startups are a very good examples that they can come up with new ideas how to streamline the process. Then basically it's helping the adoption. And the third part, and that's, I would say, maybe the first and the most important, that the user has to see the value in it. If I am changing my order to make it, to ship it wherever I want, or to have the ability to just to monitor what is my status, or to onboard or open a bank account in few minutes because I need it, or I already have AI to process all my emails and send me a list of things to do, then it's something that basically is a value, and I'm eager to try it out because it helps me. So
it's so important what you just said, you know, and it's part of the proper change management in the organizations, really. And if you guys are aware of ATKAR approach to the change, you know, I think what you've been talking about is actually the first two steps which we should actually do before we start the change. But what happens very often, too often, is that we skip the change of the step of first. People need to be aware why we need the change. Okay. Secondly, they need to desire it because they understand the benefits, as you said. And only then we can start training them. But what happens typically is that people come to the training and they say, hey, do you know why we are here? And you say, I have no idea, my boss sent me, you know. And then the adoption of anything, including digitalization, will be according to that. That is actually the ceiling set up by awareness on the success of adoption, and then on desire even lower. And then if people are not trained, and then the result, the whole conversion actually is extremely low. So thank you for this.
Actually, I also would like to add to that. I mean, I think a big point that we have to consider is also setting priorities. And I think people get lost in details, and not seeing, okay, where do we want to start? And that is a big issue that we also have at CERN, right? We are a huge organization. We have 35 member states and associated member states, so we are very much connected to many, many different needs, and the countries have specific agendas why they contribute to CERN. And how do you prioritize? That's kind of the bigger picture, and then in the smaller picture we have these different technology domains that also have different needs, and they have to kind of fight with one another, who's getting the resources. And we have a business computing unit that tries to develop tools for each of them, but where do you start, and what need is the more important need in comparison to the other one? And I think we get lost a lot in these things, and we have to find ways to navigate that, I think.
Yeah. What I see quite often is actually that people in the organizations see the digitalization or AI adoption as something what we need to do on top of everyday agenda. And it's then very difficult for the organization actually to go through it. And to that I have another question, how do you see that? Who should be the chief digitalization transformation officer, really? Who should be the driver of that?
I believe that it should be a person who can explain it the most easy way, because from my perspective in the media industry, the gap between the users, the consumers who are well educated, they know what they want, and the big players, the knowledge gap is tremendous. So most of the time, from my point of view, the hunger of users is the driving point and the explanation to the big players. So for the big players, it's really the most easiest explanation. So the most, honestly, most idiotic person should explain what the digitalization is, because then you have the baseline and you can climb on it, from my point of view.
Who is that in the organization? Alex, you were, or Pavel maybe?
No. Yeah, that is true, what you're saying, because I think we're talking about people inside the organization and the change management in the organization, but I think it should start with the common people, the society change, It should be managed, the change in the society, how they see the digitalization as a whole, so they would decide what's usable for them or not. Why they are using digital tools, assets, or anything, they have to understand, because small children, they are in the digitalization in full mind, but they don't know why and what's behind it. So I think the first thing is the education of common people, of normal people, and that can be the way to the success of the implementation of digital tools, in the society.
We were talking about, or I was talking about the third thing, this is the value of the digitalization. So I think if you are a digitalization officer or aspiring digitalization officer, you should take into consideration what the organization, where it is currently. Okay, so in their journey, as I said, it's a journey, it's not I'm digital and I'm not digital. So there are different degrees of digitalization. And where that organization finds its energy to change. Okay, so basically explain them, okay, there is the value. I'm a farmer in Moravia. I want to get some amount of money out of tokenization. Then I'm trying, and I'd like to use that money for getting better weather forecast or whatever else. And basically that's the value, that's why I'm going for it. But in order to do, and that's the second part, so one thing is to create a vision that you can share and explain and communicate clearly. And the second one, you have to be able to make sure that the execution happens. Because a lot of times, the vision is there, people are hired to see CDO positions from different countries, from different entities, but they do not know the local partners, they do not know the local specifics of the given country or given areas. And during the implementation, they are failing to deliver. And I believe that to make sure that the implementation itself happens, we should build up a good partner relationship with startups with already mature companies, with research communities, because they already invested heavily into finding bits and pieces of the solution that you want to integrate. And we at Softec basically are integrating state-of-the-art solutions to several market offerings that actually can really address a potential problem end-to-end, and it's not just plugging the holes of a leaky boat, you know, because then it won't really hold.
Just very briefly on that actually, of the research that we're doing, actually the touch screen that we have here today on all of our iPhones was invented at CERN, but never commercialized by CERN. So years out, I think it was in '72 that somebody, because we had so many industrial control systems, we had to, you know, build bigger rooms in order to have all the knobs and all of the buttons and everything. So we thought, okay, we have to make it easier. So they developed the touch screen where you could then go, you know, with a logic that goes deeper and deeper to kind of have a smaller room, basically. But then the commercialization didn't happen with us. So we need to collaborate actually much more because it happened much later only.
I just want to, like, maybe partially ask, because, like, my experience is that, like, every time I hear companies talking about, like, big visions and all of that crap, it usually leads to a very messy execution. And that's why I keep saying that instead of having, I mean, it's definitely important to have a goal, but then I believe that the right approach is just go slice by slice. And I think that the, like, scope of the change, like in terms like how many different teams will be affected in an average organization, it's very large. The functionality itself, it's usually like really stupidly simple. So, like, can I sign my document electronically instead of, you know, on physical paper? That's it, nothing else. For next 2 years, that's the only goal. And don't think about, like, more. Change itself, how it affects everyone in the organization, outside of the organization, and all the implications, that's, like, really scary. But very often I see the initial scope, the initial idea, the initial goal to be like just trying to boil the ocean. So is that like the same experience you have, guys?
Very small, simple steps is my experience. You really have to start with the explanation. I really love those 3 points, and the third one, the value of innovation, and to explain the value of the innovation to small businesses, to consumers, and already like in the media world that they are close to that before you just come. They don't want to do anything. So you have to really open their eyes, you have to introduce them to the problem, and really small steps are taking you where you want to be. So yes, I second your opinion in this.
Super. We have last 6 minutes, and maybe it's time to ask you for one thing you would ask the audience or the person sitting somewhere there. What you would suggest that they may want to do tomorrow, what would help them? What would be that one thing you would say, okay, in your shoes, I would do this tomorrow?
Yeah, so I mean, you know, it depends on the target group, of course, but if you're like an organization, a company, whatsoever, just know that you're much more agile than you think. You can do many more things than you think in comparison to my perspective. And I think what should be done is you focus on one core business, one business core, right? One thing that you're doing that is still manual or inefficient, and you try to optimize that. Really just one simple thing, that's about the prioritization, right? And I think from there, it's kind of a, you know, an effect that like happens then through all of your other aspects that might be possible to optimize. But really focus on one thing that you think, okay, this is manual or this is inefficient, and I would like to really work on that and start from there. That would be my suggestion.
From my side, what I would like you to do in order to build your business to be more successful, I believe that the first thing that you should do is to make sure that you connect to the people that you already know or knew before during your career. Try to find them again through LinkedIn and whatever, and ask them, what are you doing now and how we can cooperate? Because we already have worked on several projects with people all over the world. They are in different career paths in different organizations. And if you manage to link already existing experience, trust that you already built, but probably lost during the time because we haven't met, build something that basically, again, can bring a new solution, a digital solution, to your local market. And that's basically the value that we should always look for. Okay, it's really hard to go out to the street and try to find a solution that is already there, or try some new contact that you never heard, or you're going to conferences to make initial contact. Try to really go back to your past, find people who you worked with and you still believe you are a good fit, and make sure that you build something together, and again, try to go to market with it.
I would suggest to do one thing, to take an experience where you were enriched or succeeded in digitalization and pass it forward today to one person, to anybody, because spreading the experience, broadening the knowledge about this is exactly those steps I mentioned, and I think this is the way.
Okay, I mean, a lot of very smart things were said. I agree with all of them. If I want to add something different with my background, and obviously that applies to larger companies only, but I really deeply believe that if you have any influence on your technology organization, I highly encourage everyone to start thinking that the way how we build different teams with focus on like applications and data and AI, I just think it's fundamentally wrong, and the future will be more complete development type of person. So if you have like any influence on how things are done, at least start thinking about it, what the future is and how we will probably be building applications in the future, and what their functions will be and how they will be used in like normal day-to-day stuff by your employees or by customers. And I strongly believe that if you do that exercise, you will start changing how things are organized internally.
Well, I don't know what to say. Everything you said is true. My only thing maybe to add is I have 2 small children, and I'm trying to explain them why everybody is using cell phones, why everybody is using computers, how to use them, how to behave on the internet, and so on. So maybe the first thing, you should go to your children and try to educate them how to behave in this digital world, because the children are our future. Maybe that's...
Excellent. I have also my 2 cents, which are, if you are the person who always thinks about productivity and it leads you towards digitalization in order to increase productivity, try to think about digitalization, which can lead to the higher customer value, and vice versa. And I don't know if we have some time for questions from the public. 2 minutes. Do you have any burning questions for the amazing panel here?
I think everyone is like exhausted. Any burning questions from the audience?
That was wrongly stated, even mellow question. Nobody has a mellow question? I'm sure that actually our panelists will be more than happy to meet you somewhere in the corridors and talk to you about your specific challenges. Thank you so much. And if you don't mind, I would try to make a nice a selfie with you, and thank you all for listening to us.